Oh, Uncle Wes. Mm-hmm. So he's at Union Theological Seminary right now. And this past summer, a bunch of folks from Union went down to Ferguson. And there's a big call for people of faith all over the country to come down to Ferguson. And that's part of what the HuffPo piece was about. But when they got there, they were rudely awakened. I mean, you don't like us saying nice things about what's going on and we're not relevant to what's going on here? I mean, we came with a solution and you don't want it? How many times has it happened that you come up with a solution to a problem and the problem isn't even yours to begin with? And then you go to the people whose problem it is and you're like, oh my God. So we heard about this flood and we brought you guys a bunch of shoes and t-shirts and whatnot. Everybody there has tons of clothes. They need a house, right? There's a story of someone who's like raised a whole bunch of money to send shirts to Africa because he saw some random commercial with people no shirts on in Africa. Everybody there has clothes, okay? Like they don't need shirts. They need water or whatever the case. So Dr. West, rightly so, says, and this is what we can focus on, it gets a little messy. Old school, new school mixing, people of faith entering into social justice issues that they're not yet familiar with or not yet comfortable with. It gets tricky. And part of getting out of that mess is building relationships. But first you got to start, like sort of like a blind date a little bit, with people who are already working in that social justice space. So the social justice issues that we started with at the beginning of this conversation, for each one that you mentioned and more, there's already people in your community, there's already people at the local and national and global scale who are working on this in some fashion. Partner with them. Get their best practices. Find out what they're doing. Find out how they're doing it and find out how you can help. So, trigger warning. There's some cursing in here. And I kept it in. Just like I posted at the beginning of this session, the tweets that Anita Sarkeesian got just in 1 week. Because these are the things that are happening, and I don't want you to shy away from the curse words and the language, because I don't want you shying away from the call to challenge it and be there for it. And this particular young person at the very end here is speaking out of hurt and pain. And we need to be able to hear that in all it is, right? But essentially, there was a lot of missed opportunities that happened when people of faith went down to Ferguson. The young people there wanted to garner from their wisdom, but they didn't want to get told what to do. They didn't want their whole system to get run over by people of faith. There are so many folks that are upset at Cornel West for getting arrested. I mean, his afro was properly coiffed, and he's like in his little black tie and all of this, and that's what the newspapers had plastered over them the next day. And there are people upset about that. It's not about that. There's something different going on. And the old school tactics, some of them, yes, are extremely helpful, and we need that institutional memory, but not all of them and not for every situation.
This is applicable to the church as well. You know, forget social justice.
See, I'm glad that somebody said it.